So Falkirk are on the brink of being crowned champions of League One and booking their place back in Scotland's top tier. It'll happen this weekend if they better Hamilton Accies result. They're away to Montrose and Accies are hosting Queen of the South. But even if it doesn't happen this soon, the Bairns are still a huge 17 points clear with 6 games remaining. So to look ahead to the almost inevitable party is Clyde One producer and Bairns fan from the Falkirk Daft podcast, John McInally. John, thanks for joining us.
Hi Laura, how are you?
Oh, all good, all good. But how are you feeling, John? This is an exciting time.
I don't know what it is. I think it's just 5 years of hurt, Laura. I don't want to say that we're champions yet. I think everybody else, for the last few weeks, everyone's been saying to me, oh, it's done, it's done, it's done. But I know, I've got this inherent Falkirk in me that knows that we can mess it up at any time. I don't think we obviously will because we've been brilliant this season. But yeah, it's amazing to think that we can become champions this weekend. It didn't happen last weekend. Obviously, we were 25 minutes. We were champions for 25 minutes, but Hamilton obviously came back against Cove to win that game, which I was grateful for Hamilton because it means I'll get to see the party because I was in Copenhagen for a stag do. So
Oh,
I would have potentially have missed the party, but I've got my tickets for Montrose booked and ready for it this weekend. Fingers
well,
crossed.
I was going to say that. I was going to say I saw the crowds gathering, queuing up before the game, and I was going to say, was there a kind of air of disappointment because it wasn't on home turf? But clearly, you were not caring about that whatsoever.
I know I was in Denmark. I saw the results coming through. And I was quite disappointed because I wanted to try singing "We Are the Champions" in Danish, but didn't get the chance to do that. But yeah, Hamilton did me a favour anyway, so I get to go along with. I think they're expecting. Well, certainly over 2,000 Bairns heading up there. There's the option to sell more tickets. We've got an allocation of 2,500 with a potential extra 900 on top of that. It's on the television, obviously, 5:30 kickoff, but there'll be a large contingent heading up from the Falkirk area for that on Saturday.
That's amazing. It's such an incredible lead to have as well, and you can almost be fussy now over which point you clinch it at. But what's been the success factor this season?
It's the big difference this season, Laura. It's been recruitment from John McGlynn. The players we've brought in, we've got a real spine of the team. Beforehand, he was, I think he said himself, it's going to take a couple of transfer windows. But the likes of Tom Lang has really brought it along, Cole Donaldson alongside him. Brad Spencer in central midfield's been an absolute revelation. They've seen Ross McKeever, who we signed from Alloa. Didn't have massive expectations, but he's been really, really good. Probably doesn't has got as many goals, but he's been excellent. So that spine of the team has been really, really good. Add to that the two guys coming off the wide areas, Callum Morrison, who is now the top scorer in the SPFL, and Calvin Miller, who he's been excellent. Had a wee bit of injury problems at the start, but he's coming to the side. And the big question is, I can't work out who's a better player. I think Callum Morrison, after his 4 goals at the weekend, might just be edging it now. But they've been a big difference. And the players that were already there, Leon McCann, Aidan Nesbitt, got to mention them because they're definitely up their game. And I think it's playing alongside the players that they now are, that it's brought them up a level as well. So it really has been down to John McClellan, Paul Smith's recruitment this season. I think that's the reason we've really kicked on.
You mentioned Callum Morrison there. I mean, he's going for fun right now. He overtook Lauren Shankland as the highest goal scorer in the SPFL at the weekend. How big is it that he's just signed his new contract?
Absolutely massive. I think when we saw that there was deals on the table and there was deals going out, we signed a lot of big players. Like, again, I've got to mention Liam Henderson's been brilliant. Like, big centre half that they put in the midfield has been outstanding. But Callum was one that we thought, do you know what? If he goes, he's given us 4 years. He's scored a lot of important goals for us. But if he goes, I'm absolutely dumbfounded and amazed that, say, someone like a St Mirren or a Motherwell or one of those tables, kind of mid-table Scottish Premiership, have not looked at Callum Morrison going, that guy's, scored all these goals from the wing. I mean, he scored a few penalties, right enough, but his assists and his goal scoring, his numbers are brilliant. So it really does surprise me that no one's taking a look at him, because we were all resigned to him going at the end of the season, signing a pre-contract with one of these teams, and then leaving us. But for John McGlynn to get one in our 2 years is a brilliant bit of business. And as I say, because the recruitment's been really good, I think we do have a team. We're short of. I'm honest. We're short of a few positions where we could improve on. But the core of the team, and the fact that John McGlynn's retained a lot of these guys and put them on contracts, we've got a lot of players that are at championship level, so that kind of bodes well, hopefully, for next season.
Of course, no, absolutely, because I mean, you look at Falkirk were relegated to League One at the lowest level that you guys have been at since 1980, was it? I mean, you're not a League One side, so does this almost feel like it's just to serve now, getting back to the Championship, and you're back where you belong, and now it's kind of how far can you go after that?
Yeah, I mean, we've got ambitions. I think, when you look at clubs Falkirk size, our big rivals Dunfermline as well. These clubs are really relatively, they're bigger than some of the Premiership sides, in terms of their fan bases, and we're there for a reason. We're in League One for a reason. We were mismanaged, both at a board level and at a football level as well for many years. But it does, we do feel like, if we get back up into the Championship, that is where our level should be at. Like Dunfermline, like a few of the clubs in there, we had that, for, during the 90s and noughties, we were a wee bit of yo-yo. But flipping between that Championship and Premiership is where Falkirk should be as a club. And, it's come up to our 150th anniversary. That's the plan, to be back in the Premiership by that point. So fingers crossed we can do it. Back-to-back promotions would be quite nice.
It'd be quite something. Obviously, you're still in the kind of run for this Invincibles title as well. It's incredible. I mean, does that really matter at the end of the day, or?
I think now to the players, because John McGlynn will never say the league's won until it's actually done. But I think the players are thinking now, we've went so long, with 30 games into the league season. This stretched back to last season as well. It's set a club record, and I think they'll be thinking, we can't let this go. There's very few, it doesn't matter what level you do it at, and people will look down and say it's Scottish League One. I think whatever level you're at, that's an amazing feat to go through a season unbeaten. So I think the players it'll be in the back of the players' mind, and they will fight. If we're down, we've seen it so many times this season where we've been down in games and we've scored last minute goals. It'll be in the back of their heads, and yeah, I've got. If we could do it, it would be an unbelievable achievement, I think.
No, absolutely. Obviously, John McGlynn, he's been quite honest in the media as well about his kind of the budget you guys have got going forward, and how big a factor is he in all of this? How much do you put it down to him and what he's been doing at the club?
Again, I think John McGlynn's been a massive factor. He's settled. We've had a couple of managers beforehand. We've had a couple of experimental managers in Mark Rennie, and then before him, Paul Sheeran, Paul Hartley, who I don't even want to say his name. Came into the club, I think, and really dismantled Ray McKinnon as well. Ray seemed like he was probably unlucky what he got left with, if I'm honest with you, with Ray. But it's been turbulent. I think bringing in John McGlynn's experience, seeing what he's done, he did okay at Hearts, Wraith Rovers, he did a really, really good job. Went and worked under Brendan Rodgers at Celtic as well. Where he's I think he got a lot from that, and seeing what Brendan Rodgers did, and he's brought that into his kind of coaching mythology. But he's been what we've needed. He's one of these managers who comes in, and I'm pretty sure he lives and breathes football. I've spoke to John before, we've had him on the podcast, and you can just tell that man just lives and breathes it. Absolutely loves football. And he's been great. I mean, obviously when we end up in the playoffs and we got absolutely rattled off Airdrie in the playoffs last season, questions were getting asked at that point. But I think he laid down to the board, he laid down to the supporters right at the start. It's going to take us it might not be now, it might be next season. So, we're hopefully going to do it this season. And, I think John McGlynn, again, in the Championship, it's a league he knows.
Absolutely.
He'll do well.
No, absolutely. Just before I let you go, John, I wanted to just ask about, just in general, how the fan ownership's going and stuff. I mean, I used to live in Falkirk. I was in Falkirk around the time of the Scottish Cup final in 2015, and I remember just how united the town was, and I loved living in a one club town and just seeing it from that perspective. I had a lot of friends at the time who were St Mirren fans, and they always kind of boasted about how close knit Paisley was as a one town place to live. Falkirk's quite similar in that sense, though, isn't it?
I mean, you obviously have the buses, as you do in Paisley, that go to Ibrox and go to Celtic Park, and we've actually, there's a few Hearts supporters, Hibs supporters, because where we're situated in the country, bang in the middle, there's supporters club elsewhere. But, we're now a fan owned, we've got the 25% now. We're now, the Falkirk Support Society, we're a fan owned club. Fan ownership, it has its pros, it has its cons. But and that's a debate for another day. But I think the sense of community that ownership's brought, and it feels like everything is united on the pitch. It feels everything's united at boardroom level, and it feels everything's united in the stands at the moment. It just feels that it's all come together at the one time, which is and we'll see where it goes from there. Obviously, as a fan-owned club, it's now the onus is on the supporters to put more money in, and the board have been quite clear about that. But it's important, I think, to the community that we have that, and you can tell in the stand it's important to the supporters as well.